Hi, this is me just letting thoughts out. It's okay, just use this as a place to talk. There's no stresses if you mess up, if you stutter, if you had trouble transitioning, just make it a video. Man, I wrote in my journal some stuff. I remember I got this going because I wanted this to be, oopsie, a longer update, and I didn't finish, I guess you could call it the script, if you will. I did get some stuff. Let's see. A lot has happened. Since I posted my last video, which I didn't post until probably like 2 weeks after I recorded it, a lot of things happened, and I felt like I didn't get to share actually all the really cool stuff that has happened. Let's see. Whew, no way. How much did I write? I wrote a lot. Wow. So one of the biggest things that I have, I guess, come back to has been my breath. Over the past almost year, it's probably been like 8 to 9 months, I completely revamped my spirituality from the ground up, and that had to do with my eating. So after creating a regiment with my eating, understanding how food affected me, understanding when I should and how I should be eating, I finally decided that my regiment had completed its purpose, and that was to make my eating more intuitive rather than, regimented, very strict, very scheduled, along with my fasting more intuitive. So I didn't need to adhere to a strict schedule, which could work sometimes and could not work sometimes. So I've started to regiment myself back into my spirituality, back into my practices, because I honestly was getting very miserable during that time, because all I was doing was proper eating, but I wasn't utilizing to the fullest the benefits that I was getting from that proper eating. Like I said, the whole reason I did it was for spiritual purposes, so I could accelerate my spiritual progress by allowing my body and mind to always be primed, ready to enter a deep state of meditation. Along with that, to help the longevity of the benefits of meditation. People can calm down from meditation, lower their anxiety, but then they drink coffee, then they go eat stimulating foods, and boom, that crazy wild mind is right back. Their heart beats up, they're anxious, and it's like the only benefits they really gained from meditation was when their eyes were actually closed. They're not walking around in that tranquility. They're not speaking in that tranquility. They're not driving to work in that tranquility, which you are trying to cultivate, which you're trying to maintain for as long as you can. To see with clear eyes, not eyes that are clouded by the mind. The mind is dangerous in the fact that it superimposes, it lays on top of what you're experiencing, and even though it could be completely wrong, you believe it to be true. And so you want a pure mind. That is what I hear a lot of the yogis, a lot of the saints say. You need to purify the mind, and when the mind is purified, completely clean, then you see truth. But along the way, as your mind becomes cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, truth becomes slowly revealed. And so, eating to me is no different than intaking any substance. Consumption, that is what eating is. It is consumption of something. And we think eating to be just through the mouth, but consumption can be smoking. You might say, no, that's not eating because it's not nutritious, it's not going to sustain me. That to me shows that you view food from, I was going to say like the Western side, but everyone views it as something nutritious to sustain your life. What I believe is the body it's almost like a perpetual motion machine run exclusively by breath. And what we do is we hinder our body by reducing its ability to utilize the breath to act automatically, to act without need of food and water. The only reason we need food and water is to control the elimination of the substances that are in us that shouldn't be there, which are deposited through wrong eating. So food that doesn't get eliminated turns into the waste, which hinders your ability to use the breath, to experience your pure mind. Instead, you continuously poison the bloodstream, which affects your mind, which affects your body. The body is completely in the mind is not completely in the body, but it does have a decent effect on the mind. That's why it's mind over matter. But it takes a strong mind regardless. It doesn't make it easy. So you want to make it easy for yourself. You want to make the body be as clean as possible. I don't feel like I made a full circle with everything that I said there. So I hope I look back upon this and don't cringe too hard for leaving any loose ends. But in short, I felt like I was building a really dope race car and not driving it at all. Adding all these new parts and not playing around with it at all. That's what I felt like I was doing with this proper eating. So now I'm driving a race car. And it's pretty darn fun. I have decided to devote myself to one teacher. It's spiritual practices is very much like dieting. It's very much like practicing any art form. You really, really, really gotta empty your cup and let the teacher fill that cup so you can taste their tea. If you start mixing other teachers' philosophies into your cup, you don't get the full thing that they're trying to teach you. And you could say, well, you're not teaching me correctly. But really, it could be that the other tea that other teacher added to your cup is a contrasting flavor that doesn't complement each other. And so you choose to blame the one that you're not the most compatible with at that time, and you go on to someone else. You enjoy their concepts more, you enjoy their tea more, and the cycle continues. And it's kind of like gluttony, knowledgeable gluttony of knowledge, if you will. You just chase techniques, you chase ideas, and it's like the intellectual that can never digest what they're being taught into practical knowledge that comes from the experience of utilizing what you've been taught. So there's one person, Nisargadatta Maharaj, very similar to Ramana Maharishi, but by far the most precise, simple, clean-cut person. Would be wrong to call him a person. Teacher I've ever experienced in all of my searches. I study hard. I research hard. Okay, whenever I love something, I obsess over it, and day and night I will think about it and look. I've dived deep. This feels like the guy. This feels like the guy. I used to listen to his stuff half-heartedly. You listen to people talk and like, you put as much attention as you need into them so they feel like you're listening, and so you can respond with questions that feel like you're listening, but the other part of your mental faculties are off into la la land. That's how I used to listen to his stuff, because that's how I used to listen to everyone's stuff, and I never really found a solid teacher. But one day when I was in Puerto Rico, I was out for a walk. I was visiting my family out there. I was out for just my daily walks, and I was just listening to him because he was the person that I was listening to it more at the time. And he mentioned how he was in the state of Turya. Turya. I've only ever heard that word once before. There was a book series called The Secrets of Kriya Yoga Exposed that I had found back in 2020 when I was 21 years old. I had just been fired from my job and I had gone home for the summer. I had enough money to keep paying my rent here where I live, so I decided to go home, be around my family, get away from the weed, get a good sleep cycle, and just kind of build myself up. And so after a month of detox, I felt good. I'd been eating fruits, I'd been stretching, I'd been meditating outside, and I was just sitting out there, shirtless, beautiful tan skin, watermelon in my hand, looking at the blue sky, breathing fresh air, and I was unhappy. I was like, what is this? Like, I have everything I could want right now, and I'm still upset. And I realized that I wanted peace. That's truly what I wanted. And so thus began the journey of permanent peace, is what I ended up calling it. And so at the time, I had finished reading Autobiography of a Yogi, which was this incredible story, an autobiography, if you will, of a yogi named Paramahansa Yogananda and his journey to enlightenment through the path of Kriya Yoga. And so Kriya Yoga was a science. It is not hoodoo voodoo. It is a science that produces results time and time again when you follow it. It's, a scientific procedure. You follow this procedure, this system, and you're going to get the exact results. Deviate from the system by changing any part of the system, and you will not get the results that are promised. So follow the system to a T, you get the results that are promised. And thus, this science, it drew me in. It was so cool. But it was kept secret because tradition is taught directly by a guru who has attained enlightenment, who is a master of Kriya Yoga. I'm not going to find anyone like that in Oregon, especially in the town that I live in. It's just not happening. So, this book was written in the 40s. There's a lot has happened. So I was able to find techniques online. My camera's beeping the red battery, so I'm going to pick up the pace in which I talk right now, okay? So I ended up finding this book series in which someone who had learned the technique, and honestly, as I have read, is probably enlightened from it's amazing. It's just amazing. It's I think it was a 4-part. It might be 5. It's been a while since I read it, but I read all the books that I was aware of at that time, and one of them was called the Long Forgotten Garden of Eden, and it was speaking about samadhi, or like the lost art, but it was just about samadhi. And so samadhi is essentially when you reach it, when the mind completely stills and you're left with what is, you realize what you actually are, which is you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are that which always is, which knows that everything is, that watches what wasn't become into what was, which it's consciousness, it's awareness, and awareness becomes aware of itself as awareness, the never changing in the midst of the ever changing, the formless experiencing form. So in it, he talks about the different states of samadhi, because I guess there's levels to this science, because again, it's a science and it's been practiced for thousands of years. And so the top state was turiya. And that's all I remember. That's all I remember, is that it was that. And I remember when I read it, I was like, this is incredible. And that was the only other time I'd ever heard that word, was in this book ages ago. And I understood it to be the absolute pinnacle of this science. And so Nisargadatta finally said that that's the state I'm in. He's a very different teacher, very different. He smoked hookah. He smoked cigarettes. I've seen live footage of him smoking cigarettes as he's giving these discourses. He ate meat. Totally not what you imagine as a spiritual teacher, not an ascetic, not a renunciate of, lives in the jungle with a long beard, only owns like a loincloth and a stick and no, totally different. But this man was at the highest. And so it's not a man that smokes cigarettes that's older speaking to me. It's that pure consciousness, clear consciousness speaking, and it is beautiful. And so that's who I'm devoting myself to at this moment. And so as I've put my eating to the side and gone back into my spirituality more head first, a lot of stuff is falling away. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that like this chase for financial freedom isn't just about me being my own boss, but it's about me being the source of my income so I can practice my spirituality in a more focused manner, more freely, not having to worry about the influence, or at least it's not having to worry about the influence of people on me, because I am in the customer service. I am around a bunch of college-age students with college minds, and you can only be so different before you don't fit in anymore. So I have to conform into a certain way to not create social turmoil, which isn't that hard. I just stay quiet a lot of the times. Everyone loves me, but I would rather not, Anyway, I want to just create an environment that is more aimed at my goal, so to say. Every aspect of my life is more aimed at my goal. That's what I want. And so I was speaking about like a food truck and all that stuff, and like I said, I obsess over my goals and the startup costs, everything, what my life would look like. My life would be devoted to that completely, to getting money, to buying the supplies, the prep work, the service. It's a lot. It's a lot. And when you're on the spiritual path, if you're on the path of trying to create money and on the path of trying to attain the highest spiritual goal, those are probably the two most, they're not even like this, they're literally like that, the complete opposites. One is material gain, one is the polar opposite of it. You're gaining happiness from a source which is, they describe it as indescribable because it's beyond anything that is here. And money is the most like dense thing ever because it gives you more dense things. So yeah, I've just come to terms with the fact that like I don't actually have a burning passion to work for it. I really enjoy using food as an art form to heal myself, to bring others into this healing modality, which naturally makes you more spiritual, naturally makes you more philosophical, naturally makes you more empathetic, naturally makes you everything. Naturally makes you just better, closer to love. Naturally makes you closer to love and every quality that love nurtures. Every quality that love brings out in someone, it naturally makes you more of that. Because when you are not stimulated, when you are not inflamed, when you are not irritated, when you are not coming down off of anything, when you are not in pain through the elimination of things that shouldn't be in you, you are a calm, loving being. You are love. You are love. You are love. And so I'm just not going to risk this thing dying on me. I feel like that's a really good ending. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace.